Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I decided that I was going to do a Q&A video here from Discord because I haven't actually done a Q&A video in a while. So I guess I should say, first of all, thank you so much for posting all of your questions. I really do appreciate all of it. A lot of great questions here, so I'll get into that in a second. So obviously, before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. And also, if you want to take part in these Q&As, definitely go follow me on Discord. I will leave a link down below in the description of this video. A lot of great Walking Dead discussion on there and stuff. And yeah, I hope to see you guys there. But let's get into the first question here. So, what spinoff do you think is most likely to get a season 2? I personally believe that all three shows are getting a season 2. If I were to look at all three and say, well, which one do I think is the most likely? I would say Dead City, only because I've seen people, you know, like official people, like producers and stuff, sort of reference like the show as like, oh, this is like season 1 or like the first season of this show sort of thing. So, you know, I would believe it more just because of that. But I do think all three shows, and yes, I am putting the Rick and Michonne show in that, I do think all three shows are going to be getting a season 2. The reason why I just believe that about the Rick and Michonne show, I know there's been reports out there about like, well, it's only going to be one season, it's a limited series. The same thing was kind of announced with Dead City, you know, not as much, definitely not as much, but it was originally announced as like this, you know, one season thing. It was 6 episodes and we'll just kind of see where they go from there. And, you know, it wasn't necessarily announced as a limited series, but The Walking Dead wasn't technically, like the Rick and Michonne show wasn't announced as a limited series. I think stuff happened afterwards where people were referencing it as that. But yeah, just stuff with the wording of it, you know, there's been no like official confirmation that like, no, it's only going to be one season, but there has been confirmation that there's going to be more. And I think they just kind of want to see where they're going to go. You know, I think they want to have this first season out there and just see how the fans respond. Is there a big response from people? You know, is it going to be a big show, or is it just going to be something that just sort of fades away? Because there's no point in doing a season 2 if no one's going to care to watch it. I think the thing is, those people are going to watch it, so that's why I think we are going to be getting a season 2 for sure. Like with this show, depending on the story, I could see 3 seasons max for sure. Like I think it makes a lot of sense to do something like that because of how big the CRM story is. But we're going to have to wait and see, you know, like how do Rick and Michonne reunite? What is the storyline there? You know, is it more centered on them finding each other, or is the CRM part of it, you know, going to be a huge part of it? And I think that's something I'm really looking forward to. You know, Jadis is going to be a part of this show. That tells me right there that, you know, they're focusing on other stuff as well. Like, if Jadis is going to be a part of this show, you know, like, she's going to be involved in some future Walking Dead project for sure, unless she dies in this first season. But there's no way, like, I just, you look at the story, and it makes sense that there's going to be more than one season. I think it would be crazy rushed for it to be just one season. So I think there'll be more. I think they're just taking it very slow right now. They're going to announce season 2 for these shows, you know, at some point. I think they'll do Dead City first. I think at Comic-Con, they'll probably announce that there's going to be a season 2, unless they do it beforehand. But I think at Comic-Con, it makes sense. And then with Daryl Dixon, I think they'll probably wait to announce it like right when the show is about to premiere, or maybe before the finale for season 1, or on Talking Dead at some point after the finale, right? And then for Rick and Michonne, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it really depends. Like, they could just announce it at any point. But to answer your question, I do think it's going to be all 3 shows for sure going to get a season 2. Q&A, do you think they will address Heath's fate in the Michonne show? I think they could. I mean, the thing is about that character, like, they don't really ever need to, and I don't think anybody would really care too much. Although, I do say that, but then I do hear a lot of people bring up Heath a lot, you know? Because that was one of the last things that people remember seeing, you know, back in season 7. Because you gotta remember, too, back then there was a lot more viewers, and so a lot of people's last memories of the show, too, are some stuff that happened in season 7 and that. And so they're probably wondering, whatever happened to Heath? Like, you know, he just kind of disappeared. Did they ever address it? So they could address it. I always just kind of say, like, there's no point because they've spoiled it already, right? Like, they've sort of spoiled what already happened to him, right? Like, he was taken by the CRM. Although, was he an A or a B? I guess that's one question, right? Like, he could be dead. So, I mean, yeah, I think if they did address it, honestly, that would be really cool. Q&A, hey man, I hope you are doing well and that the days ahead are bright for you. During Fear's final season, do you think we could see Morgan returning to older locations since he's going back to King County? And then you list a bunch of examples. You know, I could see them doing something like that if his overall plan is to go back to Alexandria. It really depends, though, you know, based off of where the story seems to be going, I would say probably not, because I don't know why he goes there necessarily. Maybe he's just sort of in the location and he's like, I wonder how my house is doing. I wonder how, and so he just sort of revisits that location. And there's obviously some sort of story there with the gun and some sort of meaning there that they're trying to, sort of address there with the character. And so, to have the character go to other locations, it would have to be more of a dream sequence, I would think. But then again, if he's going to his old house, like that's not a dream sequence, so I don't see why he would do it. So I think that as much as I would want him to go to other locations, I don't think he's going to. I still think The Walking Dead in general should do that though. Like not Terminus, not really necessarily the prison, but like Herschel's farm. I really want them to go back there, just to see the house like really burnt down and like to see what the field looks like. And maybe you can get like John Bernthal to come back and do a cameo or something like that, or I guess you could probably do something just like, have a lookalike or something, a lookalike zombie on the ground or whatever. Like, I think little things like that just sort of enhance the overall experience. It's so cool. But yeah, I don't know. In terms of Fear the Walking Dead, though, no, I think that's probably going to be the only thing that we get. Q&A, do you think now that Fear the Walking Dead has gotten a time skip that they will either join the 3 spinoffs, and which one would they join? Well, I think they're going to join all 3. Like, I think there's going to be, like, Morgan and Madison will join the Rick show, and, like, Alicia maybe joins Dead City, and then other characters, on Fear will join the Daryl Dixon spinoff. Like, I just have this feeling that they're just going to sort of join all 3, although maybe not the Daryl Dixon show, because I don't know what's happening with that show in terms of the overall story. We have to watch season 1, because in the end, he might come back to America, right? So it depends on the story. If he's staying over there, then I don't think any of the Fear characters will be involved. Dead City, though, definitely that show for sure. Like, if I had to arrange the order of which shows I think will have Fear characters first, I think Dead City is number 1, then the Rick and Michonne show, then I think Daryl Dixon. Q&A, do you think Morgan Jones will return to Alexandria at some point in the future? Yes, I do. I really do think so. I think it makes so much sense to have that character go back to Alexandria just because that's just sort of his home, and I think the fans want to see him back. I would love for him to be back there, same with the Fear characters and stuff, but I guess it just really depends on what they want to do. Like certain things like that we want to see are sort of end goals, right? Like end game material. If you have Morgan go back to Alexandria, that could be the end of his story. It's the same thing as having Rick go back to Alexandria at this point, right? Like, if Rick were to ever return to Alexandria, like, isn't that the perfect ending for that character? Like, he comes back home, he's reunited with his family. To do further stories at that point, like, I'm not going to complain about it, but you're doing so much more, and then you have to come up with another ending. And at that point, the ending sort of becomes, well, that character, like maybe Rick just dies, right? So I think that as much as we want to see these moments, we're just going to have to wait a little bit. And I think with Morgan returning to Alexandria, I do think it's going to happen. It's just that that's probably, we're probably years away. But who knows? Honestly, maybe Fear the Walking Dead ends that way. I could be totally wrong. Do you think we could see a zombified Duane or Duane's dead body in Morgan's house in Fear? Man, that would be crazy if we did. I don't know. Like, I don't know what we're going to get in that episode. We could see his wife potentially. I really don't know what they're going to be giving us there. I mean, they could honestly do a lot. Obviously, they're holding back some stuff, right? So, like, I think that would be really crazy. I think for us fans, like, I don't know. Like, I think his wife for sure. I'm trying to remember exactly what happened, but no, I think he just killed his wife, right? I think he might have done it in the house. I can't remember, but yeah, I guess we'll probably learn a lot more to that story, right? Of what exactly happened there, because we've only ever heard of what Morgan did, and just what happened after Rick left. We never actually got to see it, right? Like, actually see the house. And so I think that's why a lot of people are excited for this episode, because, like, we're going to actually be able to see what happened after Rick left in season 1. Q&A, do you think AMC will ever make spinoffs of characters of what it was like before and how they met each other, etc.? I think for, like, Tales of the Walking Dead, I've seen some stuff with the actor that plays T-Dog. I believe his name is Iron E. Singleton, right? Like, he's very open to returning as T-Dog. I think that'd be absolutely amazing. In terms of how they met and stuff, like doing stories like that, that's where it's very tricky, because you have to get other actors on board, and then you also have to get them to look the same as they did like 10, 13 years ago, right? Or 12, 13 years ago. So, like, there's some tricky aspects to it. So I think that's why they sort of stay away from some of that stuff, because you can only do so much. And, like, T-Dog, I think back then was very close with Dale. I don't know if you could get Jeffrey DeMunn to come back right now. I really don't know. So it depends. Like, you would have to do certain other stories and stuff if you're doing a story with T-Dog anyways. It just depends, honestly. And that's why I think voiceover stuff works usually the best. So if they were to ever do like animated episodes, I think that could also really work, even though it's not the same effect. But they could do a lot with that, right? Especially doing like a what if series. Like, they can do so much with that. Q&A, do you think the Webisode characters could show up in these spinoff shows? I mean, I guess it depends on which characters, but I mean, I guess anything is technically possible. I think if you were to ask Gimple that, he would probably give you that exact answer. I don't see it ever happening, but, you know, like, you never know, right? Like, we're sort of in the uncharted territory now for The Walking Dead. Like, anything is possible right now because they're going to be doing anything possible to keep us excited, to keep us watching because the main show is over, right? So that's why I have so much faith in these spinoffs. That's why I have so much faith in everything coming out now, because they're really focused on quality. Because before, they really had to, you know, I think they knew people would just watch The Walking Dead because of the name. And now with these spinoff shows, yes, it does have the name, it does have those aspects to it, but you are starting something new and fresh, right? Even though there's older characters attached to it, you're still having Rick there, but you do have to create something fun and exciting. So I have a lot of faith in these spinoffs. I think they're going to be really awesome. But yeah, I'm going to leave it here. Definitely post your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.